This is your official breakup with self-abandonment. If you ever felt guilty for saying no, exhausted from always being the strong one, or stuck in a body that won't stop screaming, stress! This one's for you. We're talking nervous system healing, subconscious reprogramming, and what it really means to reclaim your power and energy unapologetically. Hi, and welcome to the You World Order Showcase podcast, where we feature life, health, and transformational coaches stepping up to be the change they seek in the world. I am your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist, on a mission to help coaches and entrepreneurs amplify their voice, monetize their mission, and get visible, leveraging podcasts and Substack. Today, we are chatting with Lyn Delmastro-Thomson.
Yep, you're right.
I knew I was going to stumble over this one. Lyn brings a unique blend of energy healing modalities, hypnosis, nervous system regulation tools, and embodiment practices to help you reclaim your power and energy while healing your nervous system so you can live your best life unapologetically. Welcome to the show, Lyn. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to chat.
Me too. It's a great topic, and it's so timely. Having just gone over Mother's Day, but this won't happen until September, which is right into the beginning parts of when most of us women get blasted with the people-pleasing obligations that we feel like we have to take on everything. Because the
Yes.
holiday season is usually just around the
Start.
corner.
Right. Yes.
So let me ask you the big question. What's the most significant thing, in your opinion, as individuals we can do to make an impact on how the world is going?
I think we can learn how to stop saying yes to everything and things that we don't want to do and learn how to be unapologetically ourselves and say no to what's not aligned. That to me is a game changer when we learn how to do this.
For sure, for sure. And we were talking before we started recording about no being a complete sentence.
Yes. Yes, it is a complete sentence. It doesn't have to be no, because with the laundry list of 20 different reasons why you can't. And we were also talking about how women tend to do that more than men. Men tend to just say no, and women tend to go into because I have all these 50 other obligations and I'm tired and, whatever we have to justify it with.
The very fact that feel like we have to justify things and then what it does to our bodies.
Exactly. Yeah, I've been talking a lot with kind of the women in some of my programs about just, how we get so tense when we're thinking about saying no, It's like our whole body tightens up, our jaw tightens up, we get like hot sometimes, because we're thinking, "Oh no, how is this person going to react?" Like, why have we been programmed into that? Like, let's just ditch that. I think it's an old, outdated kind of conditioning and programming, and we're ready to move into a future where we don't need to do that, where we can just be like, no, can't.
Yeah. How do you feel that people pleasing and judgment go together? Or do you think that they do?
I think for me, when you say that, like people pleasing, like we're in fear of judgment, and sometimes it's interesting. Maybe that judgment isn't even real, but we think that that person is going to judge us for saying no, instead of, like what difference does it make if they're unhappy, if they, think, oh, she's selfish or whatever. Like maybe that's what they actually need to see reflected back to them, is somebody who takes care of themselves and isn't just a doormat. So I think, there is an interconnection, but I think a lot of times it may be in our mind that we're fearful of judgment, and whether that's real or not, only you can kind of try to determine.
So how do you think programming our subconscious mind helps us in terms of overcoming these sort of tendencies?
So, a lot of these tendencies are really old. They say that in the first 7 years of our lives, we're kind of walking around in that state of basically hypnosis. We're not really like filtering things in the way that we do kind of in a mature brain. So, we're just absorbing like the world around us as reality. And if you saw, your mom constantly saying, "Yes, yes, I can help you. Yes, let me do that. Let me take that for you." That's what you start to get programmed with, is that's what I should do. This is how I should operate in the world. And, hypnosis really takes us into that subconscious mind and lets us access those old programs that have been there since childhood and start to rewrite them really quickly and efficiently. Like I've had people in my 6-week program say, wow, after like 5 weeks, they noticed such a huge difference in their beliefs about it being okay to say no, it being okay to do things without apologizing for them all the time. So it can be very fast when we work at the subconscious mind.
And do you think that people pleasing is always about like doing things for other people? Could it could
I
it
think
be
it
like
could show up in different ways. Yeah, I mean, I think that's maybe the most obvious way that it tends to show up is, by over giving, sacrificing ourselves, doing things. But
Mhm.
I think maybe it's also just dampening down like our emotional expression, dampening down our voice. Like, oh, I don't want to say that out loud because what are they going to think of me? Are they going to get upset? Are they going to think I'm rude? And we filter ourselves so much, at least so many of us do. There's some people out there that have no problem telling you exactly what they think and, believe. And for a lot of us, that's a work in progress.
and how do you feel about like the two-wayness of that? Because if you're going to be able to stand in your own truth, how do you feel about other people learning to allow? And for a lot of us, it is a process of learning to allow others to stand in their own truth and to have their own experiences and to be themselves and not to be the one asking for stuff.
Yeah, I think it definitely, when we step into that, it has to be a two-way street. I mean, it would be kind of hypocritical to be like, I can be the full expression of myself and say what I think, but no, you can't. And that's going to take some navigating for most of us too. Like it's kind of a dance of like, oh, maybe that makes you uncomfortable too when somebody is also stepping into that themselves. Like when you're both becoming, unapologetic, authentic, real selves, it's going to change a relationship, I think.
I've found that in my relationship with my husband, because we we've been together for a really long time, but we do grow, and we've gone from like when we first when he first retired because he was a truck driver, he's gone all the time. So
Hmm.
we only had to do the dance like 3 days a month. Um, but as he's come home and we've gotten more we do more to interact with each other,
Hmm.
and there's conversations that you have that you need to get things done, or you need to express your feelings about things. And where in the past I might have been like, I won't comment on it, or I will blow up on something that is just like, this has been stored up for so long, I can't deal with it anymore. But now, because I've talked to so many coaches
Yes.
over the last few years, I question, do I really want to go down this path? Or is there a way that this could be presented that's not going to cause my husband to feel like he has to go immediately into defense mode and then nothing gets resolved because he feels like he's
Right.
being attacked? Um, it's kind of interesting how when you start to shift into trying to be your authentic self,
Hmm.
how trying to allow others to be their authentic self too is kind of a new dance. It's
It certainly is. And I think sometimes it can, in certain situations show us where something maybe doesn't feel aligned for us anymore. For some people, it's like, wow, maybe I'm growing and evolving in a way that doesn't really match with, even if it's a friendship where this friendship
yeah.
once was, and sometimes being authentic is just being like, you were a part of my life for a reason and a season, but maybe it's time for, us to kind of take some separate paths. So it's definitely, I think it's a dance. And when it's obviously with somebody you're committed to, in a marriage and a partnership, then it's kind of a different navigation, I think, of, how do you let that person be themselves while you're still being yourself and not make that, wrong. Maybe that person isn't as introspective and doing all the self-development work that you are. And that's their path, you know. Are you okay with that? Maybe you can find a way to kind of walk together and find some middle ground.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be all or nothing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's that for me, it's about that checking in with ourselves. Like, you know, am I just doing something because it feels like that's, you know, where I thought my life was going and I can't make a course correction? Or does it still feel aligned and maybe I just have to find a way to navigate this with this person of like, I'm exploring this side of myself and maybe that makes that person a little uncomfortable. You know, how can we kind of find some middle ground together?
Yeah, I think the word compromise comes to mind, but compromise in a positive way, not like sacrificing yourself to
Right.
I think we get trained to believe that compromise means you have to be the only one making all the concessions, when really compromise is about two people finding common ground and standing on that and letting everything else just be what it's going to be and not trying to drag them over to this other side that they don't want to go to.
Exactly. Yeah. I think you're exactly right with the idea that compromise doesn't have to be this like one person. To me, that isn't true compromise. One person
It's
just kind
not.
of folds in on themselves and says, "Okay, you can have everything that you want and I'll just let you." You know, it's kind of like how can we make a bridge and meet somewhere in the middle of this river?
Yeah. And I think it's easy in relationships. Marriage is one, but really even like a work relationship or a child-parent relationship where one party gets used to having what we'd call the upper hand. They get their way on everything, and then the other person's thoughts and feelings don't really matter. And if that other person is trying to come more to the middle, it it can be it can be hard.
Yeah.
And and I know that you provide tools for helping people kind of get out of that hole that they're in or that rut that they're in and push them more towards um not even push them, I guess that's not a good word, but to encourage them to move more towards self-autonomy
Hmm.
and to to have strength in being authentic, because
Hmm.
often we lose that authenticity when we're just letting other people have their own way at our own expense.
Right. Yeah, sometimes people don't even know, you know, if you ask them, what do you really want? Some people have folded in on themselves so much, they're like, I don't know. I really don't know what I like or what I want. So,
Just
you know,
not this.
yeah, this isn't working so well, but, you know, I don't have clarity on what it looks like for me. So some of that is just, you know, having to take time to get quiet and come, you know, into ourselves and really sit with maybe it's uncomfortable to ask yourself that question at times and being like,
Mhm.
wow, I really don't know what I want in this moment. But can that be okay to just sit with that and allow yourself to be in the discomfort, allow what wants to emerge there?
And being able to make space around yourself to allow that to happen. Because I find that many people, when they're in that people pleasing mode, it's like what they're really saying is, "Oh God, please help me. I need somebody to tell me what to do so that I can find myself."
Right.
Where and so everything keeps creeping in and on them, and it's like they have no space. They have no personal space because they've allowed all of this other energy to invade their space.
Exactly. And I see a lot of that kind of in the way I look at people pleasing as, you know, it is from childhood conditioning. So it's kind of like whatever your relationship was with your parents or whoever, you know, raised you, like how safe did you feel in taking up space to express your needs? Like in my story, my mom was very kind of dominant in our family dynamic.
Mhm.
And my dad and I didn't have as much space in for our voices. And I walked on eggshells sometimes because I knew certain things would upset my mom. And then when she would get upset, it was uncomfortable and I didn't like that feeling. I wasn't kind of the rebel personality where I was like, I'm going to just do whatever I want and I don't care if it pisses my mom off. I was like, oh, she's getting mad. I don't like it. So I would go into more of kind of like a fawning or a freezing type of a response to avoid her getting upset, her getting loud and angry and making me feel uncomfortable. And I think, depending on your childhood, everybody kind of had a different situation of, how did your parents interact with you? How did they let you express yourself or not? And how safe did it feel to, be who you really were? Or did you have to kind of, be a good girl? Did you have to get good grades? Did you have to prove yourself in various ways rather than just being loved because you were just a child who was a child that they loved?
I wonder what that's like.
I don't know, but must be kind of peaceful, I would imagine, to just receive love without that. I don't know if anybody's parents are perfect. I think some parents are more self-aware at this stage of the game than others, where, it's like, I'm going to let this child just have their own personality and not be like, you have to fit into this mold.
To be fair, I grew up in a time when people were just trying to like get by.
Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of this is totally not even conscious. And then, it
Mhm.
came from like, what did your parents experience as children? And what, did their parents? So there's this very, generational patterns of, if your mom was constantly silencing her voice because that's what she learned from her mom and her mom learned it from her mom, it's just going to be a pattern. Like, we're not thinking, oh, I want to grow up and then have children and teach them this pattern. We just do it.
But it doesn't mean you can't change.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, there are definitely ways to, change that. And, it takes some work, it takes some tools and support, but you don't have to walk around with those patterns. And that's definitely a passion of mine, is to help break these generational cycles. Because even though I don't have kids, like, I don't want future generations to grow up with all of these, patterns that, oh, I have to be quiet and I have to be good and I have to be nice and I can't be who I really am in the world. I don't think that serves anyone.
Preferences, you know,
Exactly. Yeah. Like, it's okay, if I like, chocolate ice cream and you like vanilla. That doesn't mean that,
it
you're
doesn't
wrong and I'm
say
right.
anything about who you are fundamentally, or even
Exactly.
green beans or macaroni and cheese. I mean, you know, took me a long time to get to that point where it was just like, they're not going to starve to death. They can eat whatever they want.
Right.
And
People.
and all of my kids are really good cooks.
Beautiful. What a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing because now I don't have to cook for holidays. I just go to their house.
I love it. And I attracted a man who loves to cook. So he loves to cook more than I do. So it's like, hey, you want to do the cooking? Like, you are more creative and you have more enjoyment in it. Cook for me. I love it.
That's awesome. I see. It's getting rid of the traditional I have to do everything things.
Right.
And
I
that's a
have
big
to
one.
I have to carry all the weight, and I see that more as kind of a fight type of a nervous system response of people pleasers. Like, I'm going to do it all myself. You can't do it right. Like, I have to, even when people offer those type of people pleasers help, it's like they're not going to accept it because they're just so in this rut of like, no, no, I have to do it all. I have to control it all too.
Mhm.
That's a big one for a lot of people, is, you want to just have the control in your hands. I think that was some of my mom. Like, she liked to be in control. And the other side of that, when you're on the receiving end, is not always so fun to have somebody always being like, I have to manage everything and micromanage things at times.
I think that piece, I recognize it from myself. and I've worked really hard on this over the years, but that piece of having to do it yourself comes from I know how much work is going to be involved if I let you do this and you screw it up. And because you're new at it, you're going to screw it up. So it's way more work for me to
To clean up
wait
your
on
mess.
you to learn how to do this than it is for me just to do it myself, which is
Hmm.
really selfish because you're
Right.
denying this person the opportunity to learn a skill or to explore something for themselves.
Exactly.
And like I said, it's taken me a long time to just be patient with it.
100%. Yeah. I think that's nails another thing on the head is, yeah, it can be really challenging to sit back and let somebody learn, you know, or in my experience, like growing up, my mom often, she did things, she kind of told white lies to keep me happy. So, on one level you go, oh, well, she just wanted her daughter to like be happy. Like that's kind of nice. On the flip side of that, you don't learn that life doesn't always go your way, and how you navigate your way through that is to be like, well, life doesn't always go my way. Like sometimes there are going to be things that I don't like, and I have to learn how to, regulate myself internally and
Mhm.
be okay with, sometimes people say no to me. Sometimes there's not something on a restaurant menu that I really want to eat and I have to eat something. So I'm just going to say, okay, I'm going to order something or I'm going to go hungry.
Yeah, it's being able to embrace the consequences of the decisions you make and
Exactly.
recognizing it's there. So I really think that helping people overcome the people-pleasing tendencies and learning to create boundaries in their own lives with themselves often,
Yes.
not just
That's
necessarily
very
with
true.
other people. Um, it it changes not only your personal dynamics, but the dynamics of everyone you interact with.
Yes. It changes, yeah, your relationships. It changes your relationship with yourself, as I think you're pointing to, because sometimes the person that we need to have boundaries with is ourselves. Oh, I know it's not good for me to get up every morning and start my day by, jumping into looking at social media and my email and, jumping into work mode before I take time for myself. Like, do I set a boundary for that? Yes. But did I always, have there been times where I didn't do that? No, it's like, oh, it's just a habit. It's a bad habit to grab your phone and just start doing those things without even thinking of it.
Yeah, or helping people. When we first got on this call, you were talking about something on your website, and I've been designing websites and setting up funnels for a couple decades, and I could easily do what you need to have done. But instead of just telling you how to do it, which is my tendency, it's like, oh, this is really easy. You just it's just
Right.
like, okay, my boundary with myself is no, it's her experience. She's an adult. It's her website. She has people. She
Exactly.
doesn't
Yeah.
need you to do this.
Right. Yeah. And sometimes how often do we just, volunteer ourselves and our expertise and our help and our time without, maybe that person is like, I already got it figured out. Oh yeah, I just have to message
Yeah,
my website gal, which I forgot to put on the list I sent her this morning. So you sent me a reminder in our conversation, and that was probably all I needed was to just be like, hey,
yeah,
can you, take care of this for me?
yeah, exactly. It's personal boundaries on my part
Exactly. And then,
for
you're
myself.
right. So you're not, helping somebody who it's like you don't
Doesn't need my help.
necessarily need to help, and you're saving your time and your energy for
Mhm.
things that you want to focus on. And
Yeah. And other people can do that too.
exactly. Yeah. I think
I'm not the only one that does that.
exactly. How often do people just jump into like giving advice, giving, helping somebody when they didn't even ask for help? Oh, that's easy. Let me just do it. I can show you how to do that. And the person's like, I'm actually good. I got it, but thanks.
Yeah, that's the whole giving people space thing.
And
That's
let
really,
it and asking people sometimes before we just jump into, being their rescuer, like, well, I know how to handle that. If you don't have a solution, let me know if I can help you, where you're giving them the choice of like,
yeah,
do you want the help or do you not? But some of that is that internal boundary, like, do you have enough on your plate? Do you really need to help somebody that just offhandedly commented about something you know something about? Maybe not.
yeah. My daughter, my youngest daughter, she's taught me so much in life. She says, how did she put it? She says, sometimes people just want you to commiserate with them and they're going to tell you something. And the best response is, oh, man, that sucks. And that's enough.
Exactly. Sometimes people just want to be heard, and
Yeah.
like witnessed in what they're going through instead of you going into, well, here's how you could fix that problem. And they're like, I don't necessarily like, maybe they just need to process the emotion and be seen in it, and they'll be
Hmm.
fine. They'll come up with their own solution, in a few days. And you don't need to ride in on your white horse and your cape and be like, I've got it. I can save you.
Yeah. Letting them have the experience and with kids it's really hard, but as parents, it's one of the greatest gifts I think we can give our kids is just to be interested, but not bossy.
Exactly. Yeah. And as they get older, letting them start to find their own solutions rather than, fixing it for them, jumping into, oh, I'm going to rescue you from that situation that's hard or uncomfortable. Maybe just even asking, like, are you doing okay with that? Do you need my help or you got it? Like as they're getting to those ages where that's appropriate. Yeah, if a 5-year-old's being bullied, you might probably have to step in and do something. But, as a kid gets older, they are going to learn how to handle things.
Yeah, and letting them have the experiences, I think is a lot of it.
Can't overprotect, kids out of everything too. I think that that's something a lot of parents want to do is I don't want you to have pain, which is honorable on one level, but life also has pain and we have to learn how to experience it and get through it.
So, how does dysregulation make um, rest feel unsafe? And how does this lead to resistance and sabotage and people feeling guilty about them taking
Yeah.
care of
So,
themselves?
if you have like a dysregulated nervous system in certain types, so I have kind of a quiz that shows you, are you kind of in the fight, flight, fawn, or freeze stage of things? But, when you're dysregulated, when you're kind of in a shutdown state, you probably are more in a rest state. But if you're dysregulated and you feel like you have to like constantly, fight or flee your way out of a situation, then it's going to feel hard to just rest and relax. These are the type of people who, at the end of the day, can't shut their mind down and just like watch TV, read a book, just be in the moment because they're constantly still trying to prove something to someone. So it kind of comes back to that part of our conversation about the type of people who are always like trying to earn approval. I need to earn approval through my doing a good job with my work or through helping 50 people with all their problems. And look at me, I'm such a good person. So it's kind of that type of nervous system response that can make it feel unsafe to just be like, hey, at the end of the day, rest is also important. We need to calm down and take time for our bodies because otherwise, if we don't, we get sick if we're constantly going.
And we burn out and have heart attacks and not
And
fun things
yeah,
like that.
not fun things, autoimmune, like all sorts of things that are, we don't want in our lives. So we have to learn how to let our bodies just rest. And we're not wired to go, 24/7 constantly, yet some people have a hard time just slowing down and being like, oh, I'm just going to sit outside and watch the clouds float over me and just be.
I actually got to experience that a couple weeks ago where I just laid on the ground and watched the clouds. It has been so long since I have done that. Just
It's it's pretty magical. I mean, I have this memory
So
of
fun.
being on a trip on a vacation and just floating in this pool that had like a glass, skylight above and just watching the clouds just go by. And it's like such a simple memory. And yet it's like one that's so calming to me when I go back and I just kind of float there in my mind and watch the
Hmm.
clouds.
It's like a meditation all of its own.
Yeah, because you're not, and it's kind of in that being state, right? And we're not
Mhm.
controlling what the clouds are doing. Like we can't change, if they're going to move fast or slow or just stay still. We're just like, oh, wow, look at that. And oh, that one kind of looks like, whatever we see in it. And we're just in the moment.
Mhm. Yeah, it's so fun. So how do you do your coaching? Is it groups? Is it one-on-one? Is it a course? How does all
So
that look?
yeah, so I have a couple different ways that I work with people. So I have a group program that's called the Embodied No, which is an 8-week container where we really dive into kind of all four of those pillars. We work with the subconscious reprogramming, we work with nervous system regulation, we do energetic healing to kind of feel safe energetically in our bodies, and then we do embodiment practices to also feel safe, like letting our voice out, letting our bodies move instead of being kind of in these little boxes that we kind of get cramped up in. So that's one way. And then I also have kind of really high touch one-on-one transformational work that I do, which is much more, customized to the person. Like it includes a lot of the same things, but obviously we're meeting kind of where I'm meeting where the person is at in that moment. Oh, what feels most appropriate, this week for support? Do we need to do some energy work? Do we need to get in our bodies and like dance it out and, just shake? I'm not talking dance classes like where you're learning a style of dance. It's just more about like how does your body want to just move and express and communicate?
A lot of times animals will shake.
Very wise. They shake off, right? You don't see, animals with PTSD usually, because they shake things off. That's actually, we're wired to do that kind of thing. But most of us, don't really do that. Something happens, we're stressed out, we get traumatized, and then we're just like, don't let our bodies process it in their infinite wisdom.
Yeah. So how do people get in touch with you?
The best way is to find my website, which is heartfirehealingllc.com. And you can kind of see about those different offerings. There's a way to book a complimentary call, which I call the sacred yes call, because you're saying yes to yourself. And we're finding out if it's aligned. So if this is speaking to you and you kind of want to explore what that looks like, that's a great way to kind of connect with me one on one.
And you have an uncover your people pleaser survival style quiz. Let's talk about that
Yes.
for a second.
Yeah. So, quizzes can be super fun because it gives us a little insight. So it takes literally maybe 2 minutes to do this, and you'll uncover whether you're kind of in the fight response, the flight, the freeze, the fawn. And it'll give you some really powerful insights into maybe where that stems from in your childhood, what it'd look like as you start to heal that. And then there's kind of a next step for you. Like if you take that information, like what do I do to start to shift out of that people pleaser response that I'm in?
Oh, I like that a lot. Maybe I'll go look for that.
Yeah, it's a fun one, and it's kind of so many things are like read this guide, get my ebook, and I was like a quiz kind of just felt like it's a fun, insightful way to learn a little bit about yourself and uncover maybe something that you didn't realize because most of us I haven't heard a lot of people talking about kind of mapping the different people pleaser styles onto the nervous system.
Yeah. It's kind of an important aspect. Our emotions and the way that we exist are so impactful on our overall health. I think it's becoming more and more obvious to people, but
Yes.
freeing yourself of the tendencies to be in people pleaser mode and understanding how how you're wired to be a people pleaser also impacts how your body feels.
Exactly. Yeah. This is one thing that we were talking about with kind of the Embodied No program. Like what does it feel like in your body when you even just think about saying no to someone? Like, do you get hot? Does your stomach tie up in knots? Do your palms get all sweaty? Do you want to run and hide in a corner, and kind
Mhm.
of go into that response of like fleeing and hiding? And a lot of times people can't even bring themselves. Like, it's like, oh, I need to say this, or maybe it's not saying no, but maybe I need to tell somebody, this isn't working for me, or, I don't want to do this anymore. And you can't even get it out. Like, you can't even communicate it because every time you try, you just freak out. And again, that's not that you're broken. It's just that your nervous system is showing you, hey, I don't feel safe doing this. And why would we do something that makes us feel unsafe? Like that's how we're wired, is for safety and survival.
Right. And when we get in situations where neither one of the decisions is going to be a positive one, makes it even worse.
Yeah. Yep. What's the lesser of two evils?
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining me today, Lynn. This has been a great conversation.
Yeah, I really enjoyed our conversation as well.
To learn more about Lynn and to get the Uncover Your People Pleaser Survival Style quiz, please visit her website at heartfirehealingllc.com. We'll be sure to put that link in the show notes below. Thank you for tuning in with us today. If you have a podcast or you're interested in starting one to get your message in front of our huge and active audience, be sure to reach out to us at support@heartlifecoach.com. We love to help spiritual entrepreneurs and coaches amplify their voice, monetize their mission, and offer a variety of ways to do this on Substack. Join us for our next episode as we share what others are doing to raise the global frequency. And remember, change begins with you. You have all the power to change the world. Start today and get visible.